Ladies and gentlemen, we have a very special episode for you today as we unveil a project that we've been working on for months now and is finally set to release next week, our next 4-part mini-series produced by the Tackle Talk podcast. In addition to giving you the full scoop on what you can expect from Tackle Talk over the next few weeks, we're also going to recap MLF's Heavy Hitters event and more on today's episode of Tackle Talk.
Hello, everybody. I'm Bill Dance, and you're listening to Tackle Talk.
This is the Tackle Talk podcast, brought to you by The Rod Locker. Premium gear and expert advice from a staff you can trust. Now, here's your host, Andrew Hayes.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the Tackle Talk podcast. I appreciate you tuning in today. I hope you all had a great Memorial Day and a great weekend. I hope you got to go out and do some fishing. Before we get into today's episode, I do have to give a really quick shout out to the Rod Locker. And you guys heard us talk about it last week, but I'm going to remind you again, the Rod Locker is hosting their customer appreciation event on Saturday, June 6th from 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. over at the Rod Locker in Evansville, Indiana. So they're at 500 Congress Avenue, right there in Evansville. Easy drive from a lot of different places around the Midwest. So come and hang out, because not only are you going to get some great sales that you can only take advantage of in person, they're going to be boosting all trade-ins 15%. So if you have some rods or reels that are sitting in your garage or your basement or your room or your boat that you know you need to get rid of, and you've had your eye on some other gear at the Rod Locker that you would like to get instead, bring them into the Rod Locker and trade them in while you get that 15% boost at the customer appreciation event. And the fun part, I will be there all day long. So we will be hanging out. We will have free food. We'll have all kinds of stuff going on. Just a great way to spend a Saturday with a bunch of great deals, great trade-in opportunities, and great company. We're all going to hang out and have a good time, talk some fishing, and do a little bit of a meet and greet. So if you guys want to come on out, that is Saturday, June 6th at the Rod Locker in Evansville, Indiana. I'm looking forward to seeing you all there in just about a week and a half. Okay, folks, first up really quickly on today's episode, Major League Fishing just wrapped up Heavy Hitters, which, if I'm going to be honest, might be my favorite format of any modern day tournament, because this is your standard multi-day format, qualifying rounds, Group A, Group B, the knockout round, the championship round. But how you qualify for this tournament is special, and the money you can win is special in this tournament for a few reasons. So $10K is what they pay for big bass in Group A Day 1, Group B Day 1, Group A Day 2, and Group B Day 2. So there are 4 separate $10,000 single bass that will be caught throughout this tournament. And then in the knockout round, big bass pays 30 grand. And in the championship round, big bass pays out 100 grand by itself for a single fish, 100 grand. So that is unlike any other format that you're going to see anywhere else, where a single fish can win you $100,000. So everybody is on pins and needles. Every fish counts, because any swing of that rod could be $100,000 payday. And then there's also $100,000 up for grabs for first place. I think 25 grand for second, 20 grand for third, and then so on down from there. So there's a lot of money on the line at Heavy Hitters for these anglers, and how you qualify for Heavy Hitters is special too, because it is your body of work from the previous season on the Major League Fishing Bass Pro Tour catching big bass. So you are trying to basically catch big fish all year long to qualify for your chance to be one of like the 30 anglers that gets to participate in Heavy Hitters next year. So you qualify by being one of the 30 anglers with the heaviest total weight, comprised of the biggest single fish that you catch at each of the stages throughout the season. So it's your heaviest fish per event for 7 events total. You add up those 7 biggest fish that you have, one at each event. So you're making like a 7-fish bag, basically, where you take your heaviest fish from stage 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. And the top 30 anglers with the biggest cumulative weight qualify for Heavy Hitters. So that brings us to this week and the results from Orange Lake down in Florida, which showed that it has some giants lurking around in Orange Lake. just like most Florida fisheries do. So your top 10 from 2026 heavy hitters: 10th place, Jeff Sprague; 9th place, Cole Floyd; 8th went to Bobby Lane; 7th place, Brent Ayler; 6th place, Alton Jones Jr.; 5th place, Marshall Robinson; 4th went to Mark Davis; 3rd place, Jake Lawrence; 2nd, Ron Nelson; and 1st place, your winner, your champion from 2026 heavy hitters, Dave Lefebvre. So $100,000 for Dave just for winning this event, but not done yet because there's big money to be made from big bass from each day as well. So Group A, day one, the $10,000 bass went to Takahiro Amori with a 10-pound 1-ounce fish. Group B, day one, the big bass went to Michael Neal with an 11-pounder. Group A, day two, was Ott Defo with a 10-pound 1-ounce bass. And then Group B, day two, went to Michael Neal again with an 8-pound 8-ounce bass. So 4 bass right there, 4 individual fish worth $10,000 a piece, with 2 of those fish going to the same guy, Michael Neal, with a $20,000 payday. And then comes the big money. So knockout round pays out $30,000 for big bass, and that went to Jake Lawrence with a 9.5-pound beast. So you can see here every single big bass up to this point has been over 9 pounds, which is awesome to see because I feel like sometimes in heavy hitters, it's kind of lame when you see big bass go to like 5 or 6 pounds. You want to see giants. That's the point of heavy hitters, and we definitely got that this week. But then comes the big one. $100,000 fish on the final day was going to go to one of those top 10 anglers we just talked about. Again, everybody is kind of on edge. Who can bust that 9 or 10-pound fish that is going to be like the most profitable single fish you will probably ever catch in your life? And that gentleman this week was also your overall winner, Dave Lefebvre, because he caught a 9-pound, 3-ounce long old fish. Like, this fish probably looked like it was like 30 inches long. It was so long, kind of skinny, looked like it was maybe spawned out, huge head on it. But in the championship round, Dave takes home another $100,000 for big bass, bringing his total to $200,000 for the week. A pretty good week of work. So congratulations to Dave Lefebvre and the whole crew over at Major League Fishing for a great event down at Orange Lake, as that wraps up heavy hitters for 2026. All right, everybody, we'll get back to the episode here in just a second. But first, the Tackle Talk podcast is powered by Amped Outdoors. And the staff and the quality of product you get over at Amped Outdoors are just flat out better than any other battery company that I've ever dealt with. Their pricing is insanely affordable for the quality product that you're getting. I mean, my batteries that I'm using through Amped Outdoors now are like half the price of the batteries I was using a few years ago. And truthfully, I like my Amped Outdoors batteries better. They have better tech. They're waterproof. Their larger batteries come standard with Bluetooth monitoring on your phone and heated charging and a 10-year no-hassle warranty handled by a great staff up there in Hudson, Wisconsin. Also, the little things like case quality, the handles, little things like that that make batteries special, Amped Outdoors does right. So whether you need a 12-volt, 24-volt, or 36-volt battery for your trolling motor, your graphs, your live sonar, ice fishing, anything you need for fishing that draws power, Amped Outdoors has you covered. So for more information or to get your own Amped Outdoors batteries, you can head over to www.ampedoutdoors.com. The Tackle Talk podcast is also brought to you in part by Humminbird and Minn Kota. And both of those brands on their own produce some of the most impressive electronics and motors in the fishing industry, but together it's a whole different ballgame. Because Humminbird and Minn Kota were meticulously designed and manufactured to work in sync to help you get the most out of your boat or your kayak rig. Things like advanced GPS navigation, allowing your Humminbird units and mapping to communicate with your trolling motor to utilize features like autopilot, backtrack, circle mode, cruise control, drift mode, dodge mode, and so much more. And those features allow you, the angler, to focus more on fishing, more so than precise navigation, which in turn helps you put more fish in the boat. You also have mega down and mega side imaging capability with certain Minn Kota trolling motors, eliminating the need for additional transducers or mounting brackets and providing you better control over your sonar. And that just scratches the surface of all of the benefits of running both Minn Kota and Humminbird together. So for more information about Humminbird and Minn Kota, you can head over to humminbird.com or minnkotamotors.com today. All right, folks, we're going to keep moving here. The next thing on today's agenda, I have some big news for you all. And I have been teasing this for a few weeks now, but we are ready to announce that next week, beginning Tuesday, June 2nd, we're going to kick off our next 4-part series here at Tackle Talk. Now, we've done 3 of these in the past. The first was the bait breakdown, which was insanely well received when we released it more than 5 years ago. And that was a 4-part series featuring experts on the 4 main forage sources for bass. So bait fish, crawfish, insects, and reptiles and amphibians. So we had PhDs, we had biologists, we had people way smarter than I am come on and talk about each of those main forage sources so that we could get a better understanding for the bait and the prey that we're ultimately trying to imitate with our lures as bass anglers. So that was a great one because we had Shan O'Gorman on to kick us off with bait fish. We had Dr. Zach Loafman come on to talk crawfish. We had Dr. Sally Entrikin come on to talk about aquatic insects, and then Dr. Matt Cross for reptiles and amphibians. And that series was awesome. I mean, I actually, and I guess I should say, I hate going back and listening to old episodes of myself because I hate listening to myself talk, which obviously makes this whole podcast thing a little crazy of a venture for me personally because I do hate the sound of my own voice. I can't stand going back and listening to episodes, but I do go back and listen to those episodes from the bait breakdown from time to time because I think they were so good and they were kind of ahead of their time when it comes to interesting bass fishing podcast conversations. I mean, the podcast world and online fishing media was a very different place 5 to 7 years ago versus what it is now. And that was just a pretty special series for us here at Tackle Talk. And then in 2022, we released Breaking the Mold, Volume 1, which was a 4-part series where we sat down with 4 really interesting minds in the lure making world who I anyway consider, mold breakers or innovators in their respective spaces. So in that series, we had Steve Parks, or Big O, as most people know him, the inventor of the Rage Tail soft plastics. We had Derek Carr, who owns and is the lead designer for Beast Coast Fishing. We had Mark Sexton, one of the great minds at Berkeley, to talk about MaxScent. And then we had Ott Defo on, who is the lead designer of the OG series of balsa crankbaits from Rapala. So that was a fantastic series that we did. And that was our second 4-part series called Breaking the Mold. And we liked that series so much that we brought it back last year in 2025 when we released Breaking the Mold Volume 2, which had a really big focus on kind of the most innovative small tackle companies in 4 areas, at least my opinion. So we had wire baits, soft plastic baits, wood baits, and resin baits. And our 4 guests for Breaking the Mold Volume 2 were Flint Pierce from Battle Baits. We had Josh Plades from Clutch Swim Baits. We had Dan Miguel from Great Lakes Finesse and Cliff Pace from Black Label Tackle. And that series rocked. I mean, I really, at least personally to me, think that was some of the best work on a mini series that we've ever done. Like top to bottom, those 4 episodes I think turned out great for Breaking the Mold Volume 2. And then that, ladies and gentlemen, brings us to today. So today we pull back the curtain on our next 4-part series titled The Big 4. Now, this is, at least I think anyway, the first time in fishing podcast history that a media outlet has successfully lined up and included the 4 largest parent companies in fishing in one single project. So we have 4 episodes with 4 high-level executives from each of the largest equity companies in fishing. So much so that by my estimates, collectively, I think these 4 parent companies account for over half of the total dollars spent in the United States on freshwater bass fishing tackle. Over half of every dollar spent on lures in the United States, to my best ability of crunching numbers here, is spent with one of these four parent companies in the United States. And those four parent companies are GSM, Pure Fishing, Rapala VMC, and Pradco. So those four parent companies basically control the majority of all major bass fishing tackle sales in the United States. So I had this idea like months and months and months ago, and I honestly thought it was a little bit of a harebrained idea and I didn't know if I'd be able to pull it off. But over the years, I've got to know some people, not a lot, but a few people that are either directly or indirectly or kind of loosely affiliated with these four parent companies. I mean, you meet these people at ICAST, you meet them at the Bassmaster Classic, you meet them through mutual friends and the anglers that we've interviewed on this show over the years. And almost every single time that I've met one of these people that's worked for one of these, like, alleged devils of corporate greed and capitalism, everybody likes to take a dump on them. It turns out that these people that work for GSM, Pure Fishing, Rapala VMC, Pradco, like all those type of like big conglomerate businesses, every individual person that I've met, it turns out that they're just like super nice, down to earth people and die hard, like salt of the earth anglers like me. And that was kind of a far cry from like what the internet portrays and what, I probably thought in my preconceived notions, because over the years, I will admit, and I do, by the way, say it a couple times in this series to their faces, like, hey, I've been pretty critical of the consolidation of fishing companies over the years. And I do sometimes join in with the crowd online and pile on, when I get really frustrated and I see, some of my favorite companies change hands ownership wise and all of that kind of stuff. But on the flip side, when I take a look rationally at these four companies, there is a lot of good that they do too. So I know that's not a popular thing to say. I know that's not the cool thing and the cool take to have online. It's way trendier and cooler to be nothing but critical of big tackle and consolidation and private equity. I get it. I've done it too. But at the end of the day, I'm also a fan of a few things. I'm a fan of unique, interesting conversations. I'm a fan of seeing every single side of an issue, not just your own. And I'm also a fan of giving people their space to show their side of things. And ultimately, they may change your mind. Or on the flip side, they might actually reinforce what you already thought and they prove you right. But that part is up to you. That's your choice to make. But this series is a very intellectually curious angle at these companies, looking at things through more of like a business lens while still staying relevant to regular everyday anglers and consumers. And I just had a lot of fun with these conversations. These are conversations and angles and a premise that I've never really seen done before. You take the four biggest, most influential, and possibly controversial players in the fishing tackle space, and you have unique conversations with very, very high up executives at each of those four and have a unique conversation about things from their side of the desk. What makes them unique? What do we get wrong as the public? What's their reasoning and rationale for certain marketing choices or certain product choices? Things like that. So I'm very excited to share this series with you all. And it's been kind of hard to keep under wraps over the past couple months while we have lined up and recorded all of these episodes. So now the fun part. I actually get to announce the lineup of these four episodes. So the first episode that we will drop will begin next week, and it will be episode 1 of the Big Four with the Senior Vice President of Fishing at GSM Outdoors, Mr. Crispin Powley. And GSM owns a lot of brands, right? They own Dobbins, Phoenix Rods, Big Bite Baits, Bagley, Yamamoto, Bill Lewis, Robo Worm, and a ton more. And this was actually the first episode we recorded in this series, and it really got me fired up because it was exactly what I wanted this series to be. It was a very enjoyable, kind of awesome, eye-opening conversation that I think you guys will really enjoy. And also, truthfully, my prior conversations with Crispin are probably the reason why this whole series happened in the first place. And I won't spoil too much of it because we get into it in the episode, and it makes for a pretty funny segment there when we talk about the first time that we talked. And like I said, really probably the genesis for why I wanted to do this series in the first place, because of my experience with GSM and Crispin, and getting the chance to kind of talk with him and, maybe have my mind changed on a couple small things. And I was like, yeah, there probably are some really cool ways you can have conversations with people in, the bigger tackle world that a lot of times, again, we're pretty negative on. So that is episode 1. And then the following week, we will release episode 2, which will feature our conversation with the president of Rapala VMC USA, Mr. Travis Tuma. Now, I could be speaking out of my you-know-what here, but I am not aware of many, if any, interviews like this that Travis Tuma has ever done. And being the president of Rapala VMC USA, that means that he is not only over, of course, Rapala and VMC, but also 13 Fishing, Suffix, Storm, Terminator, Strike Master, Blue Fox, and a ton more. So that is episode number 2. Then the following week, we will go to episode number 3, which is with Chad Warner, Vice President of Brand Management at Pradco. Now, Pradco owns a ton of brands that Chad oversees. So Yum, Rebel, Bandit, Booyah, Smithwick, Hedden, Cotton Cordell, War Eagle, Great Lakes Finesse, Arbogast, and a ton more. A very cool portfolio of legacy brands, and also, some newcomers and some trendy brands that stay on top of things in the industry as well. So that's kind of a unique conversation in and of itself, just because of the nature of Pradco and the history of a lot of those brands, and how someone like Pradco approaches things differently than some of the other folks on our list. And then the following week, the 4th episode of the Big Four will feature 2 guests instead of 1, and together we will have Nathan Ragsdale and Mark Sexton, both of Pure Fishing. Now, Nathan Ragsdale is the Senior Product Manager of Freshwater Bait with Pure Fishing, and then Mark Sexton is the Director of Fish Science and Product Testing. And I wanted to have both of them on and have the 2 guests for this episode to kind of round out this series, because I don't think you can talk about what makes Pure Fishing and, Berkeley specifically unique compared to other people on this list without hitting the science angle of what they do. That is their flagship branding over at Pure Fishing from the bait side, most notably Berkeley. It's science-based. That is what their marketing, that is what their bait development, that is what the messaging they are putting out to you, the consumer, is very science-focused. So not only did I want to have somebody from the brand side, but I also wanted to have somebody, and who better than Mark, from the science side to kind of marry those two together. But Pure Fishing doesn't just have Berkeley. Pure Fishing also owns Abu Garcia, Spiderwire, Pfluger, Plano, Fenwick, Penn, Ugly Stick, and a lot more brands under their ownership umbrella as well. So those are our 4 episodes that we will be releasing. And through these 4 weeks and these 4 episodes, we're talking to a collective ownership of 21, 18, 15, and 26 brands respectively. So that is over 80 brands that these 4 companies own, the most popular bass fishing brands on the planet, owned by these 4 companies, averaging at about 20 companies apiece. That is crazy. And that is why this series is so much fun, because it's an opportunity to take a peek behind the curtain at the giants and sort of the titans in fishing tackle, and just have some really cool, stripped down, unfiltered, real conversations with them that I don't think I've ever heard anything like this before. So get ready. That is our 4-part series that we will be premiering beginning next week. The Big Four, right here, presented by the Tackle Talk podcast, featuring high-up executives from GSM, Pure Fishing, Rapala VMC, and Pradco. All right, everybody, I promised you last week and this week would be more concise episodes, because buckle up, you are going to get a ton of long episodes over the next 4 weeks and a lot of conversations that I am so excited to share with you all. I also know we are coming off a holiday weekend. I know everybody is busy. you're getting back to work, you're doing all of this stuff. So I will leave you with that for this week. I wanted to make sure we got on here and had a chance to really set the stage for what you're going to be hearing beginning next week here on the Tackle Talk podcast, a series that has been, months and months and months in the making, from scheduling to recording to making sure we plan this out. The folks that we talked to for this series are not exactly people you just text and say, hey, would you like to come on the show? This was a pretty big project to put all together and coordinate. So I'm excited. Buckle up next week. The Big Four right here on the Tackle Talk podcast. If you have any questions in the meantime, shoot me an email, tackletalkpodcast@gmail.com. You can find us on the website, tackletalkpodcast.com. Mark your calendars, June 6th. Over at the Rod Locker, we have an all-day meet and greet at their customer appreciation event. Come on out. Great sales, free food, boosted trade-ins, and you get to hang out with us all day long. I'm looking forward to meeting you all there. And, of course, we will see you right back here next Tuesday for another brand new episode of Tackle Talk.
Thank you for listening to the Tackle Talk podcast. Tackle Talk is produced by Andrew Hayes. Copyright 2019. For more, please subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen to podcasts.